welcome everybody into this week's edition of the Real Talk Ravens podcast. We are here going to be talking about the Ravens-Steelers game from this past weekend, and then a little bit on all these coaches' firings, coaches' interview requests, all that good stuff.
Yep. Good little end-of-season talk.
Yeah, I mean, we basically are chilling here for the next week, trying to figure out who we're going to play in 2 weeks. So
I hope it's Houston. I want to play Houston.
I honestly don't know who I want to play. I mean, I kind of want to play Pittsburgh just to shut them up, but
yeah, but I don't
see them winning a game. I don't think they can
the Bills
beat
pretty
Buffalo.
much almost lost that game to the Dolphins and didn't because the Dolphins wanted to lose more.
I still don't think that the Steelers got enough firepower. They could only score 17 on our third stringers.
They also scored 17 on our first stringers.
Yeah. Well, that was a different part of the season. This is the playoffs. This is the end of the season now.
Let's just hope that whoever we play, they don't catch us flat-footed.
Yeah, that's
really it.
I think all our guys are on, alert because of that. So I think we'll be all right. I'm not really worried about it. I think this is a different team. The way that they have their culture built right now, it's the leadership is not going to allow for that to happen.
It takes the entire city though, like I've said before. So the fans, we gotta help carry this team through.
I will say this. If we end up having to play Buffalo in the AFC Championship game at home, we better not let our stadium look like the Dolphins Stadium did last weekend, being basically a Buffalo home game.
Yeah, that's a little different.
I know.
A lot of old Buffalo natives retire in Miami.
Buffalo travels very, very well with their fan base.
I still think they're going to beat themselves before they even get to the AFC Championship game. Think about it. They got to play the Steelers, who are one of those teams that just capitalize on mistakes, and the Bills make a lot of mistakes. And then if they win that, they have to – I mean, the Chiefs are still good enough to be the 3 seed, and then I don't know what the other options of them playing would be.
To me, they are definitely the second best team in the AFC.
Like, if for whatever reason Buffalo had to play Houston, I don't think they'd win that in the divisional round.
Oh, yeah, they would.
In the divisional round, no, they wouldn't.
I think so. But Houston's got to play who now this week?
Cleveland. That's a tough game.
And Cleveland just played them a few weeks ago with Flacco and everything and barely beat them. They barely beat them. It was a good game.
Yeah, it was tough early. It was like a big lead early that the Texans kind of came back into. If they had Stroud, it would have been a different game. I'm excited to see what it looks like. That's the game I'm looking forward to the most this weekend, actually. So
I still cannot believe Jacksonville blundered away the playoffs to the Tennessee Titans.
They went from the number 1 seed potentially to just missing out entirely. And it's I feel bad because, I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's a pretty good quarterback, and they had a really good end of the year last year. And I feel bad for the fans because I feel like that gave them a lot of really high expectations when in reality the team wasn't really everything that it needed to be. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember in free agency, there was a point where there were only 2 teams who hadn't made a move, and that was Baltimore and Jacksonville. So, I mean, they kind of did it to themselves. They put all their eggs in the Calvin Ridley basket, and it didn't really work out.
Well, he got hurt, right?
Well, he did get hurt, but he wasn't hurt the whole season. He had that huge drop.
I think their main issue was how bad their offensive line was.
Their offensive line played the biggest part in their failures this season. But
they weren't able to keep Trevor Lawrence
passed around a little evenly. Like, you can even say Trevor Lawrence just was turnover prone this year. He was.
I feel like it though. You got to think the offensive line was a big reason to that. And at the end of the season, he was hobbled the entire time because of all the hits he accumulated.
He got hurt in
I think it all stems back to that O-line. So we'll see. I'm sure that'll be a key focus for them this offseason. But how about Tennessee? Go ahead and get into this Black Monday talk. Or should we go ahead and start with the Ravens-Steelers game?
Let's start with the Ravens-Steelers game. I feel like even though there isn't much to talk about, we'll keep it brief. We'll talk about injuries. We'll talk about a little bit of what we liked, what we saw, what we didn't like, and we'll just move on. Because I know that the fans, just like us, want to move on to the playoffs. So
for us, it was a preseason roster out there. It was not a true.
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of people who were in there who I didn't think should have been, but you can't rest everyone. So
no. The thing that the game boiled down to were the turnovers. There was 8 total fumbles in the game between both teams, but it just felt like ours came on our side of the field or in key moments where we really needed to, push the ball. We only had one successful offensive drive where we pushed the ball down the field and hit Isaiah Likely, where he stiff-armed and broke a tackle, and that was really the biggest play of the game.
Yeah. No, I think that we got an opportunity. Melvin Gordon, of course, everyone's talking about how Dalvin Cook's now going to have his opportunity. I don't really think there's a way to defend that anymore. I mean, I know it was raining, but you're playing in an NFL game. You've gotten so many chances. I love the guy. I really do. He's a really good personality, and he's a really fun guy. And I like having him on the team, but we're going to need that third running back in the playoffs, and he hasn't proven that he's a reliable third running back.
I will say this. I felt like Gus Edwards' fumble was worse than Melvin Gordon's because Gus's, he was literally going through the line where at all times, especially in a rain game, you should always have 2 hands on the ball. Melvin Gordon's happened in the open field, and the guy came up from behind and stripped it out. So
yeah, no, I'm definitely a little worried. That's 2 straight games for Gus Edwards, right? Dolphins game 2.
Yep.
Tote that rock, man. Hold on to the ball.
So it's not just the only running back that's honestly not having any fumbling issues, which used to be one of his weaknesses, is Justice Hill.
Yeah. Well, you got to see a little bit of Laquan Treadwell. I'll let you give that assessment because you were excited to see him. What'd you think?
I mean, it's kind of hard in that type of environment with the rain and the wind and all that stuff, and having basically Tyler Huntley just throwing the ball. And
right.
I know he had one drop, but it seemed like that was kind of just going to happen.
Sure.
It seemed like a few guys dropped the ball because of how wet it was.
Like running his routes properly and, just like finding open space and stuff like that. And it was just the fact that it was raining, or do you think, do you think he would have played well in a better weather game?
Yeah, I mean, I think he did enough to, warrant him being where he's at.
Right.
He's on the active roster now, so if somebody were to go down, I'm not necessarily scared of him going in the game. It's not like Prochet where you just know something bad's going to happen if he goes in the game.
Cleveland, watch out for that's going to bite you in the playoffs. You guys are going to come to Baltimore. You guys are going to have like a mile-high miracle moment with Prochet, except he's going to drop it, and that's how you're going to lose.
He tried to do that when we played him the last time, and when he dropped the punt.
Yeah. So I just hope you guys are just the same way Steelers fans have been warning us about Arthur Maulet. I am warning you, Cleveland fans. James Prochet may have a moment in the playoffs, and it may cost you.
Yeah, definitely. But I will say this. I think that was probably the last time we see Tyler Huntley in a Ravens uniform.
Hopefully it is.
I really do. I just don't think – because I think he'll be able to get a decent contract as a backup quarterback somewhere, and we're just not going to be willing to give him that money, especially with how much we're paying Lamar. And trying to
good backup in Washington. I think he'd thrive in an Eric Bieniemy offense.
If he'll even be there.
Well, you heard they're actually keeping him on staff for now so that the Chiefs can't do that, like swoop in and steal him for the playoffs thing.
Oh, really?
Coordinators on staff.
Smart. But I feel like you got Malik Cunningham, who potentially could take that role. You still have Josh Johnson, who's more than capable of being a backup quarterback. And then I feel like we could potentially get another undrafted guy like Tyler Huntley.
We could draft someone kind of later, too.
Or like a 6th, 7th round, like Trace McSorley type.
right?
that we end
I
up
mean,
getting.
remember, Trace McSorley was okay for a year or two as a backup or whatever he was.
Perfect. And even Tyrod Taylor or Tyrod.
Terod Taylor won a Super Bowl, so.
Yeah. So there, I don't,
And
it
wasn't his last year in Baltimore when they won the Super Bowl?
might have been. And then he went to
So Tyler
Buffalo.
Huntley's last year in Baltimore is when we won the Super Bowl too. Parallels.
Hey, now we're talking. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I just got to say that's probably how it's going to be. I don't see us keeping him.
Yeah. Did you want to go over those injuries real fast? I know they're not. We did get some pretty good news post game. John Harbaugh came out and he said at that moment it seemed like everyone would be ready for the divisional round who got tweaked up, beat up. We really got lucky on the injury side of the ball because we saw TJ Watt, grade 3 MCL sprain, right? Or
Yeah,
was it
so
a
he's
tear?
going to be out at least this week, probably 2 weeks if they make it to that. So you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to see him come back to an AFC Championship game if that were the case.
So if they do somehow miraculously without him beat the Bills, then they would have to come into Baltimore without TJ Watt.
Yeah, most likely.
So root for the Steelers, guys. Root for the Steelers.
Yeah. Yeah, because more than anything, I just want to shove it to them. But yeah, then the other one that scared me was Geno Stone and Delshon Phillips going down on the same play. I was really scared about Stone more than anything, but the fact that Phillips went down meant that Patrick Queen had to go back in the game, and he was supposed to be sitting out the rest.
Yeah,
So that sucked.
that had me a little worried because people were starting to drop like flies at that point. I was like, oh my God, no.
The field conditions were starting to get worse, and it just felt like something bad was going to happen.
Yeah, no, it was definitely one of those like final destination moments where everything was starting to like pair up perfectly for something awful.
I think the other guy was Brent Urban. He went into the concussion protocol.
Thank goodness. He should
so
definitely be good in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like it was a serious injury or serious concussion, so he should be all right. So, yeah, we should be clear. And that was really the biggest goal, more than anything, to get out of that game, play competitive, but really just get out of there without any major injuries.
And guys, another small win, even though we lost, the 49ers lost too, so we still have the best record in the NFL. So
yeah.
I don't know who even cares about that, really, but I think that's kind of cool.
The only person that may care is if they bet that the Ravens were going to win 14 games this year. Other than that, nobody else cares.
Agreed.
So that's pretty much, I mean, offensively, another guy that was a little bit disappointing to me was Charlie Kolar. I thought he would have been a bigger impact on this game. He had I think at least one drop, and he just seemed like he wasn't moving like very fast at all.
Yeah, he I don't know. I don't know if it was just a rust game or if the lights were too bright or whatever it was. Maybe it was just the weather. It's I'm not as concerned as you. I don't think that's like a consistent thing. Normally Charlie Kolar shows up when he's out there. He's just not used to being out there as much,
It seems like he's had a few drops this year.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say I'd want the ball in his hands in a do or die situation in the fourth quarter of a game in the playoffs, but I don't
think we'll get to that point hopefully either. We should hopefully
blow teams out 3 games.
If we can win one more game and to get to the AFC Championship, there's a good chance we could have Mark Andrews supposedly.
Really?
That's what they're saying.
Sweet. That would be awesome. I don't know how that would work, but that would be awesome.
He's apparently going through some Aaron Rodgers treatment or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so offensively, that was pretty much the story. We couldn't throw the ball past 5 yards because Tyler Huntley just tried to get it out as quickly as possible, like he always does. And that doesn't work against the Steelers. You have to push the ball down the field, even if it is raining. And we really didn't get the run game going.
Well, that's kind of something that shocked me too. And almost I think that if we were playing, like if that was a playoff game, we would have pushed the ball down the field more. We did that against the Rams. We were pushing the ball down the field against the Rams. The Rams actually was probably a pretty good blueprint onto how we should play the Steelers if we play them again in the playoffs. So I think it was more so Tyler Huntley ain't that kind of guy.
The other excuse that we could have is the fact that we had nothing to play for. So I'm
Excuse
sure there's probably some
I
inner
don't like
talk with Harbaugh and Monken saying, let's not show anything crazy. Let's just run our base plays that we've ran all year. I don't
right.
want to, really game plan specific anything for the Steelers and just kind of because if we did have to play them again, they're going to look at that film and we don't want to show them
Yeah, if they
meaningless
see it's our
film. And
basic stuff, they'll just get pissed and not know really what to do. They'll have to look at older film.
yeah, so the next time if we do have to play them, we'll have ideas. I'm sure there were ideas that we had. We just said, all right, we'll save these in case we have
probably
to
had to
play
pull
them.
something up their sleeve a couple times. Honestly, it seemed like it. So they had to dig into their handbag. We did not.
Right. That's pretty much the story offensively. It was turnovers and not being able to push the ball down the field. The one time we pushed the ball down the field was to Isaiah Likely, and we saw what happened. So
yeah, touchdown. So it is what it is. I wasn't too mad about that game. I was a little disappointed. I was more concerned with the injuries.
Right.
Did you want to move on to the Black Friday?
Or you want to talk about defense?
Oh yeah, defense, great. The worst moment in that game for me was when Odafe Owe went down because I don't know. No one really seemed to know what happened. It looked bad.
I think it was just big precaution.
Yeah, I felt like it too, but it's just like you couldn't really tell,
Yeah, I mean, the thing that concerned me was, really, they ran the ball all over us. I called it.
Yeah.
I said 150 yards. Guess what? They ran for like 155.
Yeah.
And we for some reason Najee Harris plays his best games against the Ravens. I know we had our backups in. I know the linebacker situation made a big difference. But I will say linebacker wise, Trenton Simpson was the defensive player of the game for us. He was flying around, which is a great sign to see, especially not knowing if Patrick Queen will be back. He probably won't be, if I had to guess. I think from seeing that, I'd probably try to keep Matabike over Queen if we had to choose one.
Yeah.
And so that was good to see. The little bit of future defense right there. But the other thing was the big play that we let up with. I think it was a third down. They hit the Pickens on the slant, or was it Johnson? Johnson on the slant.
Yeah.
Marcus Williams just whiffed completely as the only safety back there, and we were in man coverage, so the corner got beat. But the corner knew he had help from Marcus Williams, and Marcus Williams didn't help him. So to me, it was on Marcus Williams.
I saw that too.
Yeah, to me, it was completely on him, and it was just like, I know in the rain, your reaction time is much slower, but it was just like he was kind of out of it.
I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't going 100%, which I don't like to see.
No, I don't care. If you're not going to go 100%, we got to put somebody in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because like I get the circumstances. I totally agree. You probably shouldn't be playing right now. But this team, their identity all year has been fight till the very last breath as hard as you can. So if you're not, then you shouldn't be in the game.
100%. We didn't even get to speak on this. Michael Pierce, we signed him to a 2-year extension, so he's pretty much guaranteed to finish his career here in Baltimore.
So, as long as he stays healthy, that's a really good pickup to have just for him to finish out his career.
He's been fairly dominant this year up the middle.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys remember, but before he got hurt last year, he started the season really dominantly.
Yes.
He, if nothing else, will be reliable as long as he's healthy.
Yep. Just kind of manage his diet a little bit so he doesn't get too fat, but he's definitely everything you want in a 3-down nose tackle. He's gonna be able to plug up 2 gaps and take control of 2 guys, one with each arm because of how big he is. And then on top of that, he's been able to pressure the quarterback, and someone with his size to be able to explode and do that type of stuff is pretty impressive.
Certainly. And I like it when we have players who start and finish their careers in Baltimore. I know he went away for a little while, but he knew where home was.
He's a great story. Great story for the Ravens drafting and having someone finish with them. Him and Brent Urban basically did that.
Yeah, they both did.
So, yeah, let's anything else defensively?
Hmm.
I thought the corners did decent.
Oh, Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep,
Getting
Jadeveon Clowney got his sack mark to get his 750K.
Yep, good for him.
Huge.
Congrats, deserve it.
Yeah, I think that was the only incentive that really got hit. I think Nelson
Nelson
Aguilar
Aguilar
was, I
was
guess,
great.
like 20 or 30 yards receiving away from hitting his, and he never did. So
Yeah,
he can talk that up with Tyler Huntley, I guess.
yeah.
But
I don't know if Nelson Aguilar really cares that much, but then again, he might. So
yeah, but so that's it in a nutshell. Game final score 17-10.
second time this season.
Yep. So
A sweep, but it's not as bad as it sounds.
the biggest thing that ticked me off was the way that they celebrated after the game in our locker room and take over your trap, walk over, whatever bull crap that is. That's why I want to play them. I want them to beat Buffalo for that reason, so we can beat them and just not even make it close, just completely destroy them.
I know that we're going to talk later in the week about the playoff games, but just really quickly, what do you think it would take for them to beat Buffalo? Especially without TJ Watt.
They would have to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I
They got to keep Buffalo's offense off the field.
Do what?
They have to keep Buffalo's offense off the field.
For sure. I think not only that, but they have to find ways to still create turnovers.
Yeah.
Which Josh Allen is turnover prone. Again, as you saw the other night.
He threw one real interception. The other was fourth down.
The other one was fourth down, but it was, and I actually did defend that interception because it was kind of just like a punt. But the first
you can't take a sack on fourth down. You have to throw it up and give your guy a chance.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%. But the first one was pretty bad.
Lamar throws bad picks too.
He does.
What was it? The one that he just threw a couple weeks ago?
That gruesome one against the
Jacksonville?
Yeah, Jacksonville. Yep, I saw that one live.
That was an ugly one.
Man, Jags fans were mad when we beat them. I can't imagine how mad they were when they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, let's get into this Black Monday talk here. So a couple guys got fired on Monday. Today we're recording, it's Tuesday, and we had one firing today. On Tuesday, that was pretty shocking, I feel like. The most shocking one was Tennessee firing Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
This guy was a former coach of the year not even a few years ago. He's taken the Titans to the playoffs like 4 out of the 5 years, 4 out of the 6 years he's been there.
One number one seed appearance, one AFC championship game appearance, like 4 playoff appearances, 3 division titles.
And that was all despite the GM just not giving him anything, taking away his one of his best weapons in AJ Brown, just constantly just destroying their team.
Oh yeah. It was kind of brutal, and he will definitely have no problem finding a new job. I think actually he might fit in very well at New England. I know a lot of people.
100%. I think that's got to be the first place that anyone could predict him going to.
Right, but if not New England, maybe he'll give the Chargers a try. That's a fun.
Well, you got to think he's a defensive-minded coach. He's going to pick a team that has a defense.
You don't want to work with Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack.
Yeah, and you got a franchise quarterback.
They have to resign those guys, but.
And then the other thing it comes down to is how much money is he getting paid?
Well, that doesn't come out of salary cap, so.
No, it goes by the owner.
Right, so however much, what's his face, Spanos.
It could be a bidding war. It could be a bidding war for him.
Kraft versus Spanos.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I think he's got to be the number one candidate, and it's actually a good thing for us that he did get fired because that means that's one less team that we have to worry about Mike McDonald going to, because I definitely think anyone would take Vrabel over McDonald right now.
Right.
So then the other coaches that got fired that were pretty much written in stone was Ron Rivera with the Washington Commanders.
For like 12 weeks, though.
Yeah.
That was like the longest, slowest car crash I've ever seen.
And then Arthur Smith with the Falcons, that was a little bit of a surprise because he's only been there for 2 years now, right?
I think this was year 3. Did you see him yelling at the Saints coach at the end?
Because of Jameis Winston's decision to go for it. He lined up in the knee formation too.
What is Jameis Winston doing, dude?
Being Jameis Winston. He's been that way.
Like, does he want to not have a job next
Well,
year?
his contract is up, so I think he knew that too.
Oh, so
he'll be a free agent anyways.
He was just flipping the organization off for starting freaking Derek Carr over him.
He was probably ready to get out of there.
Then kneel it. That's the fastest way to get out of there.
Yeah, but
someone could have gotten seriously hurt.
Saying. So with that, obviously got some coaches. The other openings that are still, from previous firings were the Chargers, and the Panthers, right?
Who also fired their GM.
Yeah, the Panthers fired their GM, and the Raiders still have a GM opening, I believe.
I'm interested to see what happens with that Raiders job.
Yep. So
there's a lot of mutual interest between Jim Harbaugh, but every team is saying that.
So we've got 3 coaches from the Ravens that are getting interest from some other teams.
Yeah.
2 that we really we know Mike McDonald. We didn't know if Todd Monken really would, but since he's on the number 1 team, he's going to get interviews.
Yeah.
And then you also have Anthony Weaver, our assistant head coach and defensive line coach, who got requested an interview by the Commanders. Wonder how much of that is the minority, requirement, or how much of it was a true interview. But
I mean, I think it's a true interview. I would probably.
You got it. I mean, it's got to be, but at the same time, they do have to interview a certain amount.
He seems like it would be such a random selection to be like a random person, He
is highly regarded around the NFL.
Like,
he speaks well. He kind of gives off that head coach vibe when you hear him talk.
If we lost Anthony Weaver, that would suck. I'd still rather lose him over the other 2. And I would be happy for him. I just would hope he wouldn't go to Washington because that would suck for him.
Yeah, for sure. Then Mike McDonald, he's been asked to pretty much interview everywhere, I think, except for Atlanta.
Yeah. Apparently, Sports Illustrated released an article saying he's a favorite in Washington. Some people don't like Sports Illustrated.
I just saw something saying that Washington was either going to get Ben Johnson from Detroit or someone else.
Oh, well, yeah, shows what they know.
So we don't really know what's going on there. They also are interviewing Raheem Morris from the Rams and obviously Anthony Weaver. So who knows? Yep. And then Todd Monken also got requested by, I think, LA.
Yeah.
And Carolina.
Something like that. Don't go to Carolina, dude. Bryce Young will ruin your career.
The other team that keep forgetting about is New England is open because, well, it's going to be open pretty much.
Are you certain about that though?
I think it's got to be.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how after, like, I understand that this year was bad, but they're going to have the 3rd or 4th overall pick.
I think they're trying to trade him.
Where would they trade him to? He would have to totally want
the Raiders, the
he
Chargers.
Would want to go coach in Vegas.
I don't know if you have a choice. If you get traded, you get traded.
Then you retire, and then the team doesn't want to trade you.
Oh, speaking of Trace McSorley, he just got released by the Steelers practice squad.
Oh, they used him as like faux Tyler Huntley.
Oh man, so
anything else you want to go over for Black Monday?
Oh, one other thing that going back to the games from this past weekend that happened that is the exact reason we sat our starters was Sam Laporta getting a serious knee injury in their game.
I actually did not know about that. How bad is it? What is it?
They say it's a sprain, but I think it's similar to like TJ Watts.
Jeez. And didn't someone on the Niners go down?
Not that I saw.
Oh, I think someone went down in practice or something. It was one of their corners.
Oh, that was last week before the
Yeah,
game.
and I think we talked about that.
Jason Verrett.
Yeah, Jason Verrett. What's the severity of that? Is he out?
Season ender.
Shit. You know what? I think we did talk about that. That's my bad.
Yep. So that's pretty much all I got for this week. As far as Black Monday, Steelers, Ravens, all that good stuff. But you got anything else?
Did you want to kind of do just a little preview of the playoffs? Like kind of just talk about what game you're maybe most excited about?
Let's just save it for next episode.
Okay. Well then, yeah, no, that's all I got.
All right. Sounds good.
Shorter one.
Sorry, this was a shorter episode for everybody, but not a whole lot to talk about here on this bye week. But we will be back to preview some of these playoff matchups here later on this week on Thursday or so.
All of them except for the Chiefs versus the Dolphins. You can find that preview exclusively on Peacock.
Yeah. So whoever decided that a playoff game was going to be exclusively on Peacock is an absolute idiot.
Or just an a-hole. I mean, they're not an idiot. They're really smart. I just
can't believe you got to think in the future TV deals with the NFL that the NFL is going to use that against them.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. There's so much big money stuff I don't understand, never will understand. It's like, okay.
Yeah. But with that, I think we should just go ahead and wrap this one up. Make sure you all like, subscribe, and share this so we can continue to bring you guys some great Ravens content. But we'll see you later this week with the playoff picture preview and our picks. It's coming down to the wire here for our picks. So,
oh yeah.
Yep. See y'all.
See ya.